So imagine this. It's the holidays. You can't wait to get back home, to see your family, your in-laws, to share presents. It's Christmas time. It's wonderful. So you decide you're going to fly Southwest. You make it to the airport, you go through security, and you're waiting at the departure gate. All of a sudden you hear your name over the intercom. They're telling you to come to the front desk. You oblige and you meet an attendant who's suddenly saying that you've been kicked off your flight. When you inquire as to why, she tells you that a passenger bought one ticket, but ended up being too fat for the one seat. So Southwest Airlines has to accommodate that person by giving them an additional seat for free. That extra seat for the fat passenger ended up being yours, and now you're kicked off your holiday flight. Does that sound absolutely insane to you? Well, with Southwest Airlines' newest customer of size policy, this may be exactly what happens on your next Southwest flight. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into this video, if you'd like to support the work I'm doing on this channel, you can consider becoming a patron to my Patreon. We try to keep sponsored ad reads off this show for your sake, so support us if you want to support us. And thank you to everybody who's signed up so far. Now, we're no strangers to talking about the body positivity and fat acceptance movement on this channel. You know how I feel about it. It's okay to be comfortable with your body and where you're at, but we also shouldn't say that there is health at any size or that fat is particularly healthy. But when you look at the American population, it seems like they're getting that exact message. Fat is healthy. You can have health at any size. And the rates of obesity in the United States of America are skyrocketing. Every year, it seems like our nation's average weight gets higher and higher and higher and higher. And as the years go by, obesity, which is a health crisis, is becoming more and more accepted. But what happens when fat and obesity activists don't feel accepted enough? They go on airplanes or walk through hallways and they feel like the space that they're given is not big enough. They advocate for change in those arenas. Now, airlines have been a hot topic when it comes to fat activism and body positivity. Here's a woman by the name of Jalen Cheney, who is a fat advocate, saying that airlines need to accommodate their fat passengers with extra seats.
So you want to hear my hot take on plus size travel and why I think every plus size traveler should get a free second and even third seat on an airplane? Let's just state facts. Plus size travelers need more space. And many people agree that plane seats are too small, even for the average size person. As a plus size traveler myself, I know how uncomfortable and unsafe it can be to squeeze into a tiny airplane seat. We are not asking for special treatment or luxury accommodations. We simply want enough space to travel comfortably and safely without fear of being discriminated against because of our size.
Now, on top of creating TikTok videos that advocate for airlines changing their policy, Jalen Cheney also started a petition on change.org that is rallying the FAA to change their airline policy. Her goal is 50,000 signatures, and so far she's gotten 38,000, which means she's well on her way to her goal. And Jalen is not alone. Here's another video of a fat activist calling for airlines to widen the aisles in between the seats. Now, I cannot be the only one who sees these videos and thinks this is absolutely ridiculous. There should not be extra accommodations for this sort of behavior to encourage this sort of unhealthy lifestyle. And I can understand that there is a group of people who cannot control their weight and they have other health issues that maybe lead to them being obese. But the vast majority of people have this within their control. Their weight is their choice and it is based on their lifestyle. So why is it that airplanes need to grow to accommodate this ever-increasing obese society? And at what point do we stop? As the years go by and obesity goes higher and higher and higher, are our airplanes just meant to continue expanding? Instead of 3-person rows, will we now put only 2 seats in the rows to accommodate this larger American society and ignore the fact that we are increasingly becoming unhealthy? In the case of Southwest Airlines, that may be exactly what happens. So let's get into their customers of size policy. This article is out of the New York Post. It says plus size TikTokers are praising Southwest Airlines for its customer of size policy, which allows overweight passengers to request a complimentary seat and force the flight staff to accommodate larger flyers, even if that means kicking others with tickets off of the flight. You know what? Until now, I have never understood those videoed meltdowns that people have on airlines. But I swear to you, if I was on a flight and somebody tried to kick me off to accommodate a larger passenger who should have bought an extra seat, you're gonna see a public freakout. And I don't care that it's going viral. The article goes on to say, under the Texas-based airlines policy, customers whose bodies encroach past the armrest are entitled entitled to an extra seat at no additional cost. Remember that word entitled. We'll get back to that later. It says that the passengers, quote, have the option of purchasing just one seat and then discussing your seating needs with a customer service agent at the departure gate. If it's determined that a second or third seat is needed, you'll be accommodated with a complimentary additional seat. The flight team will then look at the seating arrangements, which are not predetermined on Southwest flights, and would potentially move other passengers around for the unplanned accommodation. And I guess if you want to be nice to the other passengers who may or may not get kicked off of their Southwest flight, you can go ahead as a larger person and purchase 2 seats ahead of time, go on your trip, and then Southwest will actually refund you for the additional seat that you purchased. And I can only imagine that this means that the price of tickets on Southwest airline flights are going to go up, as the people who are purchasing 1 seat must now subsidize the additional seat for the larger passenger, which means people who only take up 1 seat are paying for those who must take up 2. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. And if you are just as baffled as I am, let me lay it out in plain language. People are being rewarded from unhealthy behavior, and the people who are getting punished are the ones who take up only the 1 seat on the airline. And you know what? People always ask, what is the harm of the body positivity movement or the health at any size movement or even just woke leftism in general when it comes to our society? And here we are detailing that harm. But it is baked into the system of beliefs. When you believe in this sort of ideology, here is your way of thinking. Not that you must accommodate for the world, but the world must accommodate you. And that is what this Southwest airline policy is. The average person, at least for now in the United States of America, can fit in an airline seat. But now we have these marginalized fat activists that thinks the world must accommodate them, which means that all of our average lives must change to accommodate somebody who is living an unhealthy lifestyle that is directly within their control. And they will package this and sell it to you as if they are solving fat discrimination, as if fat people are somehow victimized because of their size. But if we rip the band-aid off and tell the truth that for the most part your size is within your control, then you are not in fact a victim. And it just astounds me to think that the person who can fit in 1 seat, who purchased their ticket in a timely manner, who showed up to the airport on time and is just trying to travel to wherever it is they're trying to get, is now going to be punished for somebody who should have purchased 2 seats in the first place. I'm going to say what apparently nobody wants to say. If you are going on an airplane and you do not fit in 1 airline seat, and in fact you need 2 or 3, you should have to purchase 2 or 3. You should have to take on the additional cost for what your lifestyle is inflicting upon the rest of us. I'm reminded of this tweet that went viral from Sydney Watson, where she's sitting on an airplane and she's wedged between 2 very large individuals. I'll read the tweet for you. She says, "I'm currently literally wedged between 2 obese people on my flight. This is absolutely not acceptable or okay. If fat people want to be fat, fine, but it is something else entirely when I'm stuck between you with your arm rolls on my body for 3 hours." And she goes on to rant about this and to provide pictures of what looks like her experience on that flight. These are 2 individuals who should have bought 2 seats, but instead of deciding to be self-aware and purchase 2 seats in order to make the people around you more comfortable, they decided to take the selfish route of having the 1 airline seat and inflicting that on Sydney. Yet this tweet went viral not because people were sympathizing with Sydney's experience. It went viral because they were calling her a fat-phobic bully for having talked about the experience that she went through on that airplane. And while we're all about consent these days, nobody asked Sydney Watson if she consented to having these 2 people almost sit on her for her entire flight. So now with this new Southwest airline policy, not only are you supposed to willingly give up your seat and do so politely for the person who should have purchased 2 tickets in the first place, but you're also not meant to complain when that happens to you, as you will be deemed a fat-phobic bully who hates larger people. You are not the victim in this scenario. Somehow they are. And my final questions are, for how long is this going to continue, and what other areas of our lives is this going to affect as American people get larger and larger and larger, and we continue to claim that there is health at any size and that obesity is an okay thing to be dealing with. But this is what we do in American culture these days. If you are an individual that has been given marginalized status, and this can be for any reason far outside of just being fat, could be for being black, could be for being a woman, could be for being transgender, it really doesn't matter at this point. Once you've been given that marginalized status, we've decided that society will do whatever it can to hold you from taking accountability for your own actions and your own choices. We will accommodate your every last whim and your ever-changing view of what reality should be. And we don't care if it punishes law-abiding citizens, healthy people. We don't care that it actually adheres to science or health. And most of all, we don't care if we are actively enabling people to do the wrong things with their lives. It's other people's job to give you reparations. It's other people's job to learn your pronouns. It's other women's job to give up their spaces in sports. It's other people's job to give you their seat on an airline. It's interesting that though we cover so many different topics on this show, they all have the same same through line, and they all go back to the same foundation. And I told you earlier to remember that word entitled, that we would get back to that. Entitlement is central to all of this. When you teach people that they are a victim or they are marginalized, they then feel entitled to make you change your world to accommodate them. It is a deep sense of entitlement and victimhood that drives all of these different policies and all of the different things that now come to affect our daily lives. And where we simply ask to be left alone so that we can live freely and flourish, they then impose their sense of entitlement onto us. Which is why, if you're flying Southwest Airlines this holiday season, you may or may not make your flight. But those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments down below. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this subject matter in particular. So I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, if you disagree with me, duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post for you guys, which is every day. And maybe send this video because this is an insane story. I don't know how more people are not talking about this. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next time.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.